Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Outliers YouTube channel and our program, Get to Know. I'm your host, DP Lyle, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Kathleen Antrim.
Thanks, Doug. It's great to be here. And we've got another fantastic interview for you. Doug and I have known this gentleman for quite a long time. He is quite accomplished. And we're going to add, he's a best-selling author to that list of thrillers. Pretty amazing guy, Alex Finlay. Alex, how are you?
Great, great. And thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. And kind of like to start off the show with asking you about your childhood. So, what I would like to know is, do you feel your childhood contributed to you becoming a writer? Did you have imaginary friends? Were you an introverted kid? Were you an extroverted kid? Did you read a lot? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I'd say a combination of things from my childhood made me kind of were influenced me, right? One, I was a military brat, so I moved every couple years, and back then when you moved away, you never saw your friends again. There was no social media. They were just you would, chances are you would never see them again. And you also, like, if you moved to a new town in the summer, you would be by yourself a lot. And so that's when I started reading. And I found that reading was kind of like the steady companion throughout that period. But I also got to just go to have a lot of interesting experiences all around the world and, kind of saw, things from a broader perspective. So I think the combination of those and just being an imaginative kid, I was a musician, well, a wannabe musician. I was in rock bands throughout high school and college. And that was what I thought I was going to do with my life, is be this great musician. But my talent had other plans for me.
So, so you moved all over. So then you decide to go to college and you go on to law school. So what drove you in that direction? And then how did you end up coming back to writing?
Yeah, well, I was a terrible high school student. I can say that now. Part of it is I went to five different high schools or four different high schools in 5 years. I forget the numbers. And part of it was this rock band thing. I thought I was going to, travel a path where you didn't have to be that academic. And I had this great epiphany when I was in college, doing a show at one of these kind of rock clubs that it was a, I had the hair, I had the whole 90s thing, so you would not recognize me. But we were in backstage at this house kind of club we played at, and a storm had just blown through the town, and a tree had fallen actually on this club, and they stayed open. The tree had fallen right over the dressing room, so there's no power in there. There's a hole in the roof, and there's this giant bin in the middle that is filled with every foul thing you can imagine, beer and God knows it was cigarettes. And I just remember sitting backstage and going, this is it. This is my last show. I can't do this anymore. And then I realized, well, what am I going to do? And luckily I was admitted to college on probation. And once I realized that, like, I needed to get my act together, I did pretty well enough to go to get into a law school. And that kind of that was the path I took.
So the life of a rock star was not for you.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
kind of outgrew it. It outgrew me, and I outgrew it. So
yeah. I imagine even the Rolling Stones have stories like that. In fact, they probably definitely have stories like that.
they have better stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about your process a little bit. Are you a pantser or do you outline? Doug and I go back and forth on this one.
Yeah, and I hate the expression pantser and
Yeah.
plotter. I don't know why. I don't like it. But I am kind of a mix. I tried doing the full outline thing. I think it is, if you'd really think of it logically, it is probably the most efficient way to do things, to decide where you're going to go. And you probably save a lot of time. I know James Patterson and others swear by it. I tried it once, and I really felt like um it was like becoming a job. I'd be like, okay, now I've got to write this chapter. And I also, for me, none of the things that I think happen, the best parts of my books are, in my view, are the things that happen that I didn't expect. And that happens kind of organically when you write. But I'm not totally structureless. I basically think of a book I'm not the brightest person, so I just kind of think of it really simplistically. I'm like beginning, middle, and end. And then I'm like, I'm going to focus just on the beginning right now. And there I just think about, I usually know what I start with a prologue, and that gets me going, and that gets me into the story. And then I just think of it like a movie in scenes, and like, what scene am I going to do for this, and where's that going to lead, and what that scene is. And I really just think about it a lot. So by the time I'm ready to write, I write pretty fast because I've already kind of thought about this, it's so much. And I get grief for the way I write, which is, once I know the scenes, I go on these huge long walks and I write on my phone. And so I write the first draft of basically the entire book on my phone, which makes it sound like a hack, but it's the way that's been working for me.
Do you record into the phone, or do you actually type on your phone?
I type, and my wife's constantly worried I'm going to get run over by a car.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be in, I'll look up and I'm, DC, just walking down Connecticut Avenue in DC, and I'll be miles from home, not to kind of know what neighborhood I'm in. But I have a pretty good situational awareness. I can really type well as I walk. So that's my
That's
process.
amazing. I've never heard anything about it. Yeah, I agree with you on it. It becomes a job when you outline. I outlined my first few books, and I found out that after I outlined them, I didn't want to write it because I already knew the story. But then when I did start writing, I found out that I jumped from the outline very quickly. And pretty soon it was left in the dust and had nothing to do with the direction I was going. So then I thought, why am I spending 3 weeks outlining this? Why don't I just take a scene, see what happens? Take another scene, see what happens. So it's good, but I can't imagine writing it on a phone.
Yeah. Well, during the pandemic, I was struggling writing, and I realized it's because I wasn't like going downtown. I began my writing process on the subway every morning, going to my law office there and back, and that's where I think I got the habit. But when everyone was at home during the pandemic, I was just like, why am I struggling? I realized I just have to go on walks, and I would bundle up in the winter and just go on these epic walks. And yeah, so Kathleen, are you an
Interesting.
answer or a plotter yourself?
I am I do a very extensive outline, which to me is kind of like writing a first draft, because it's that my outlines tend to be over 100 pages.
Yeah.
So it's essentially a first draft. So, but I do deviate from it at times when I'm writing. I kind of let things happen still organically. So I'm wondering though, should I try the pantsing thing? I don't know. I don't know.
I think everyone's just got to do what works.
Yeah.
I just, there's people who outline and just write great books, and it's just not me. I wish it was, because I do think it probably is more efficient. And
Yeah, I agree.
But there is something to be said for sitting down and just, coming up with something completely fresh that day. That
Yeah.
happens for
Oh,
me in my
sure.
outlining process, but so I don't know. So talk to us a little bit about, you've got a new book coming out.
Yeah, in 2 weeks from today, or yeah, from yesterday. I'm getting my days confused. Yeah, it's called Parents Weekend, and
Love the title. Oh,
I
look at
love
that
the
cover.
title.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you. They always do great covers at my publisher. I got the idea when I was at a parents' weekend. These college parents' weekends are pretty. I don't know how long they've been going on, but since the three of my children have been in college, we've gone to many of these weekends, and it's usually the first year. The freshman year, and all the families and everyone's so excited. The kids have been out on their own for the first time for a few months, and you get, they're pretty excited to see you. And so that's where I get the idea, which is basically the plot is that it's Parents Weekend at a small Northern California private college, and the dorms have arranged like these small group dinners for small, like 5 or 6 families to have get-togethers. And the parents of the 5 students involved in this story all go to this local restaurant and having cocktails, and they're waiting, and then their kids never show up. And so at first everyone thinks, oh, they're just being kids that probably snuck off to a party or just being irresponsible. But then as the hours tick by, and then the days tick by, and there's kids, or no texts, and there's no one's heard from them, panic ensues. And the story is about this weekend, and what happened to these kids. Is it something to do with their parents? Is it are they missing for secrets they have? And that's kind of what the story's about.
Wow. Love
Great
that.
premise.
That's a
Yeah.
great premise. You know, I have to also ask you, because I've wondered this for a while. Your last book was your breakout novel, correct? Or not your last one. Your breakout novel became a national bestseller.
Every last year is kind of was my. I'm a writer under a pen name, as you both know.
Yeah.
And I had written under my own name to I won't say great success. But I wrote a book that was very different. I wrote legal thrillers. I'm a lawyer, and they did okay. They were well reviewed, but they didn't sell very good. And then I got to this point in my career where I was going on to book 4, and I wrote another legal thriller, and my agent basically said to me, you want to break out. You've always told me you want to take this to the next level. And she's like, they will publish this book. We will sell this book. But this isn't going to be, this is another, you're going down the same path. And have you thought about doing something that's not a legal thriller and just a commercial thriller that really speaks to you? And I never really thought about it. It was just, second nature to me to write legal thrillers because I was a lawyer. And I don't know, Doug, I don't know if that's how you felt as a physician.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but so I had an idea for this book, and um, I had become friendly with an editor at my publisher through Thriller Fest, where we all know and love. And one thing led to another. He said, "What are you working on?" I said, "I'm working on this non-legal thriller." And he said, "Well, I'd really love to work with you." He wasn't my editor, but let me see some of these pages. And he was knocked out by it. And then he's like, you got to keep going. And to his credit, he sold that book on 100 pages, which is, for having the track record I did, was an amazing feat. And so, my only, and I love working with him. His name Joe Brosnan. He did so well with the Alex Finlay books that he was stolen by another publisher, and now he has his own imprint. So which I'm super happy for him, and I really love my new editor as well. But it was kind of this oddball story where he was he was a younger guy, really ambitious in the best of ways, and really kind of turned the corner for me. And so that book was every last year. That came out in 2021, and then I've done a book a year ever since then.
So the breakout, do you think the breakout was due to him? Was it some marketing you did? Was it the topic, the way you wrote it? What do you think really was the breakout?
I feel like all of the above. I feel like that it sounds corny to say, but I felt like when I was writing as Alex Finlay, I found my voice, or whatever you want to call it, because it is a different. If you read my old books, there's obviously it's still me, but there's something different about the Alex Finlay voice, and so there was that. I think it was a really interesting premise for that book, and obviously he really marketed it really well. He was from marketing. He was, when we met, he was a head of I don't know, the head of marketing, but he was a high up in marketing at the publisher, and he wanted to break into editorial. And so this was like a real gamble. I'll give the publisher just amazing credit for letting him take that chance and kind of pursue his dream, and just to kind of take a leap of faith off of really 100 pages.
Did you do a lot with, I know, Doug, I'm sorry, I'm like
No, go
monopolizing.
ahead.
Did you do a lot of TikTok? Somebody had told me you did TikTok. No. Okay. All right.
I don't have a face for TikTok. I have a face for,
Because I don't either. And I keep thinking, I wonder how important that is.
as they used to say. I think there are people who I don't. My view is I'm not a. I like Instagram is like, if that's pretty much the only social media I do, because it's so positive and the book community is really great. But I've seen the TikTok people who are successful with TikTok. I don't think you can force it. I think they were naturally good at TikTok, and then people got to like them and gave their books a chance. I don't think I could go, or I think it would be very rare for just an author to go, I want to go do TikTok, and that's gonna change me, because
Right.
I just feel like it'll be forced. And the people who are really great at it, Geneva Rose, I think broke out initially because of TikTok, and now she's totally TikTok. She sells plenty of books that have nothing to do with TikTok, but she's also really funny and just not. She's a natural for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think what I'm sensing here, and the breakout is enthusiasm. I think you sound like you're more enthusiastic about these books. And I know when you ask about medicine, when I first was thinking about writing, I thought, well, I should write medical thrillers because that's what I am and I know the inside baseball. But the more I thought about it and the more I tried to create stories in my head, they all became repetitive and restrictive because you were inside baseball. You were in too deep. You knew this world, and therefore it was boring to write about it and talk about it and do all of that because this is what you do every day. And plus, that turf had been pretty well marked out by Robin Cook, Tess Garrison, and the late great Michael Palmer. And I still miss Michael. But why do I want to do that? And I love to read their books, but I'm thinking that's for me personally, that wouldn't be creative for me to follow those footsteps. So I just started writing things about people and crime and all that stuff separately. And I found that more enthusiasm. Did you get that sense when you said, okay, I'm done with this legal thing. I'm going to go in another direction? Did you jump on board pretty quickly and say, wow, this is fun?
Yeah, I think so. Well, also seeing it got such a good reaction, and when
Right.
people get enthusiastic about you, you start thinking, hey, maybe I know what I'm doing here. Maybe that's something I'm not just faking it, like I feel like I've been doing for all these years. So I think that there's that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I had this extra always kind of worry in the back of my mind that, I practiced in Washington, D.C. I was always worried, like, what are the judges going to think, or what are the justices going to, I wrote about the Supreme Court, and what are the clients going to think? Luckily, people were always surprisingly enthusiastic about
Yes.
it and kind of thought it was fun. But it still never left that. And so being under a pen name now, it's just been, I don't know, it's just more freeing and
Yep.
not, like you said, Doug, not writing about something I know. This is the
Right.
cliche is write what you know. I'm pretty boring. What I know is pretty not that interesting.
Exactly.
It's like I'm better off going with imagination.
Yeah, you got to go to the playground every now and then. You
Yep.
can't stay in the office all the time. Yeah.
Now, Alex, I know you're up against a hard stop, and I don't want to drag you through worrying about that. Can you just tell us where we can find out more about your books and the new book launch, et cetera, where people can get your books?
Oh, sure. And well, first of all, thank you both. And Outliers has just been a tremendous resource to writers already in its short time frame, and so it's really great.
We're
And
excited to have you teach.
yeah, I'm excited to be included. I was really thrilled about that. As far as the books go, comes out May 6th of 2025. Depending on when you're watching this. I will be on tour for pretty much from May 6th throughout May, and then I'll do some festivals and things after that. And the book you can find on I have a website, and I am also on Instagram, as I mentioned. And I actually will, if you reach out to me on Instagram, I will reply to you. So please.
And make
Cool.
sure we have all the information on your book, the launch date, and your tour for our newsletter that will come out. The Outliers newsletter comes out in the first week of May. And people can subscribe to the newsletter by going to outlierswritinguniversity.com. And that way, we can promote that for you. We'd love to.
Great. Well,
So,
thank you.
Alex, it's been great to have you. I know, Doug, I apologize. I've completely monopolized this interview.
Kathy, you monopolize everything.
Well,
Alex knows this. He's been around you too many years to know.
I know. You're both wonderful, and I'm sorry I felt rushed, and
No. You're
No worries
fantastic.
at all. Yeah, so thank you again. Can't wait to have you. Cannot wait to have you teaching. Our students are going to be just thrilled to the eyeballs. I'll throw it back to you, Doug, to close it out.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here for this episode of Get to Know with Alex Finlay, a dear, dear friend for a long, long time. We were so thrilled to have him here. And as you know, we will be back with other interviews on this show. So until then, keep reading, keep writing, keep having fun, and don't get caught.